Hi, everybody. My name is Madeleine MacRae. I'm from Messe Stuttgart and from the show organizer of Sunshading Expo. I'm happy to welcome you all at the second Knowledge2Go online session. I'm here with Madeleine MacRae, the owner and founder of Homepro Toolbox, and she's going to present the insights in the session, the insights in the session, the survival sequence. So I'm handing over to you, Madeleine. The stage is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. Excited to be here to share with you what this is all about, the survival sequence. It's something that we live and experience in our businesses. And today I just wanted to give a little bit more context to what exactly this looks like and why it's something that we want to think through early on. So for those of you who might not know me, as Manuela said, I am Madeleine MacRae. I have been in the home improvement space for nearly 2 decades. I am a coach and consultant and of course a speaker, and I work with small to mid-sized business owners hand in hand to help them understand where they are in their business today for real, and then get to where they want to go, whether that's meeting their first million, their first 5, 10, 15, 20 million or more. And I also work with large manufacturers and organizations to help them create compelling content that really moves the needle for their dealers and their retailers. So the company that I own a couple different companies, but one of them is Homepro Toolbox, and that is an online digital resource center for home improvement professionals. And everything that I teach is just nestled right inside of that digital toolbox. So what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be exploring the 3 phases in your business journey. So many of us just spend a little bit of time, so little time actually, looking at the big picture that we just get caught up in the weeds, and you don't realize where you are, because to you this is just the next natural thing and the next natural thing and the next natural thing, and you're just putting one foot in front of the other. Nothing wrong in that, but we really need to understand where we are in our business in order to take the right strategic steps to help us move into that next phase in our journey. We're going to be looking at, once you know what it is, how do you figure out where you are? Because sometimes, we can't see the forest because of all those trees. So we want to start to think about how to determine where you are. And then the last piece we're going to be covering is one of my favorite tools, right? It's also in our toolbox. It's called the money test. And the money test is going to give you a really interesting way to look with fresh eyes on how you are spending your time. Something that we kind of know in our hearts, but we don't necessarily have it figured out internally. We don't know how to think it through. And so it's really hard to adjust what you can't see, right? Have you ever heard that adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? We want to see where things are not working, be aware of it so that we can then fix it. And so often we just don't see what's not working. So if we ain't broke, right, we're not going to try and fix it. So we're going to tackle all of that in the short time that we have together today. And for those of you who are loving this and just want to hear more, you can certainly reach out to me personally, and you can come and see me live and in person at the Sunshading Expo, where I'll be teaching a couple of sessions that will complement this content beautifully. So make sure that you register and join us live for Sunshading Expo this year. So let's dive on in. Does running your business ever feel like this? Oh my gosh. This is a custom cartoon that we had made by this amazing cartoonist, Isabella Bannerman, to show what it feels like in the daily operations of a business. Every time I work with a private client, I show them this. First thing, one of the very first calls we do, I show them this graphic and I ask them, what do you see? So ask yourself, what do you see here? The thing that's always really obvious to me is our little dude who's running around like a crazy person. By the way, this represents one individual, right? There's a lot of steps between the different snowballs that he's rolling towards the finish line. Or maybe it's a she. Kind of leave it ambiguous so you can identify with it yourself. He's sweating / crying at the end. Not one single ball is over the goal line. There's been a ton of effort here. What I see when I look at this picture is a lot of work. This person is working so dang hard, and they've done what they should have done, which is to establish goals. right? You see goal, 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 but they're not getting where they want to go. Yeah, they're making progress, but wow, how hard is this progress? How much effort, how much time is being consumed as they run from here to there to everywhere without the joy of the achievement, right? There's something to getting something over the finish line, completing that goal. And when we run our businesses this way, which by the way, if you identify with this, you are like nearly every single person I've ever coached. Never have I ever shown this picture to someone and they said, oh, that's not me. I never do that. Never in the history of ever has that ever happened. Okay. Never with a capital N. So I'm sure you can see yourself in some dynamic about this. And while we're not going to be talking about goal setting, what we do want to be talking about is the macro way you look at and run your business, because it really makes a massive difference on how you live out this image. Right? The reason I had this artist create this is there wasn't anything that captured this in a way that I felt was really authentic to the journey of a small to mid-sized business owner. And it's important because when we recognize this, we feel the pain in our heart. We have that uncomfortable chuckle, but it doesn't feel like there's a way out, right? So today, I want to give you a way out of running your business this way. And it's by looking at it quite differently, knowing what you're looking at and what you're looking for. So when we're in our business, we have 3 different ways, eras, moments we can be living inside of our business. Now, when I go through these, it's all on the screen at once, so take it in. You're going to be having like, oh, well, obviously, Madeleine, this is not news. But I want to walk through this with you because it's really important. We live, every single business owner on planet Earth lives in one of these 3 phases of their business, right? Every single business owner falls into one of these 3 phases. Survival, we'll talk about it, success, or significance. Now, these terms can be put in different language. This terminology I actually learned from a coach quite a few years ago, and I really like it. But what I wanted to show you about this is that the survival band is pretty broad, right? There's a long range of time where we can be in survival mode. The success band, however, is even broader. It's a really wide range of success band, but that significance band is pretty small and pretty steep. So as we go through our business, in our business journey, the difference between these 3, you can feel a lot in yourself. When you're in survival mode, you're asking yourself questions like, can I afford payroll? What am I going to do? If this client doesn't pay me, if this project doesn't come through, how am I going to pay my bills? Do I have enough leads to keep myself, surviving here? And the survival band, people can easily get stuck in that. Because in the survival band, you have a lack of time because you're so busy just trying to make it, and you have a lack of money. So when you don't have time and you don't have money, yikesies, right? How do you exit that, right? People get out of the survival band usually by grit, tenacity, hard work, and determination. The secret, if you are stuck in survival, is to exit survival mode as fast as possible. Right? That little arrow that goes from the left to the right, you'll notice that it's facing downward. When you're in the survival mode, it has I like to do this by a sound effect, so forgive me for my weird sound effects. This is how it feels. Right? It's sucking you down. It's pulling you down like the water circling the drain. It's sucking you down, and it has a downward pull, downward trajectory. One thing compounds another, compounds another, compounds another. And we have to be really diligent about doing the right activities when we're in survival mode to exit survival mode, to give ourselves just enough buffer to eke our way into success. Now, if my graphic artist would probably cringe at this slide a little bit. I know she probably, I have this on her desk and I did one myself. So she would probably have changed the color from green to red, red to green a little bit more gradually, because it's not like a sudden moment when you're in survival, suddenly, ta-da, I'm succeeding. What happens is that little thin line separating survival and success is very thin. It's just a line. And you can go back and forth between survival to success, survival to success, survival to success. And it's a little bit still downward trajectory. If you notice, the success band is quite broad. That green box is broad, the broadest of the three, and it's divided in the middle by, horizontally or vertically by a line. And at that midpoint, your arrows shift. Notice the arrow on the left side of the box is still pointing downward. There is still this slippery slope effect. One thing goes wrong and whoop, you can slide right back into survival mode. There's this really slippery slope effect in the first half of the survival band and success band, because the survival band is still pulling at you, right? Survival questions, you're worried about, how am I going to make it? What do I need to do? And in the success band, you now start to have a little bit of, generally, a little bit more money. You don't have the time yet because you're still working in your business for the majority of the time, but you do start to have a little bit more money, and you can start to invest in things inside of your business. And the type of things that you typically invest in are infrastructure things or people. And when you start to have the people who then duplicate you to do the work, you reach that one, see that thin little line right in the middle of the success band? It's kind of transects that vertical line. It's thin. That line, my friend, is a teeter-totter line. You get on it, you can tip down and go back to survival mode, or you can tip up and go on to significance. When you're at the midpoint of this success band and you're standing on that straight line, you have the capacity, once you pass that over, to get on to that second arrow. What do you see about that second arrow? Look at it. Notice where it's now pointing. It's now pointing upward, because when you hit a place of momentum where you have enough money to invest in the things in your business, you yourself are making a great salary, your family is comfortable, you're comfortable, the business is growing, you're adding people. We all know the adage, it takes money to make money, right? So now you're rolling money into your business. You have you figured out your sales and marketing, that's now working. You figured out how to hire people, that's now working. You figured out how to delegate, everything's working. And your business is hitting the numbers that you needed to hit in order to be stable. Once you've passed the threshold of firm stability, both personally and professionally, and you've created a stable environment with the right people, the right products, the right processes. We all heard that if you've ever seen The Profit by Marcus Lemonis, we know people, product, process. Once you have those things in your business, now you have an upward trajectory where it pulls you forward instead of drags you back, right? The great news about hitting that center point in success is it's often the case that you don't go back. You very rarely tip back down into survival once you've passed this threshold, because you have done it. You know what it takes. So even if you start to slide a little and start to teeter over towards the left-hand side of that green band, you don't slide all the way back, right? And the beautiful moment is that notice how steep the line is. Now, it's not that it's hard to climb, it's that's pulling you forward. It shows both, these lines are supposed to represent both speed and momentum, right? Movement forward and movement upward. That second line in the success, the second arrowed line, the blue line, is leading up to significance. And it has a little bit of an exponential effect, right? You start to get on that and you start to move forward. Now, if we didn't have time or money in survival, and we started to have time or money in success, what do you think we'd have when we reach the significance band? Okay, not hard math here. We have, my friends, both time and money. Yay, right? Oh my gosh, finally. At this stage is where you say, I've made it. I've made it. Within the significance band, you have the capability to start to pull back from the operational side of your business. You have the opportunity to invest in other things. You have plenty of excess money, and you have your time freedom back. Most small to mid-sized business owners get into business for themselves because they want to live in this yellow band. That's what they're craving. They want freedom. And for them, freedom means time plus money. Most people live somewhere between the edge of the red and the beginning of the green band. And the number of businesses and business owners that make it all the way through to that significance band are few and far between. If you're on your way there, I will tell you it's worth every effort you put in, because that joy of achievement, of being able to give back, give to your community. Now you can start that, of course, when you're in your success bands, right? There are certain people who already start in survival mode, right? They're still generous. They still give to their community. They still give in lots of ways. They still give back. I'm not saying you have to wait until you're within the significance band to be generous. But what I am saying is that there's a certain freedom that you gain, increased freedom as you go. You know, I'm sure you've heard that most small businesses don't succeed. They fail within the first 5 years. It's because that survival band and the beginning of that success band, when you still have that downward pull on you where one small thing goes wrong and it ripple effects across your business, that's hard to do, hard to make. But when you're doing the right actions, it's way easier. So many people stay caught up in the life of just living under what I call the tyranny of the urgent. So it's really important to be considering the impact of time and money on this journey. Okay? There's a old adage, again, I'm sure you've heard it, that time is money, right? Giving your time is a way of creating or losing wealth. You have to consider how you're spending your time and your money, because when you don't do the right activities in your business, you're actually squandering that time, which prevents you from achieving the level of money you want. When you're investing your time in the right things in your business, which sometimes is hard to do, that's where you start to unlock that key to success. So we have to discover how to exit the tyranny of the urgent. And one of the ways that I like to do, this is one of my favorite tools, don't tell my other tools, but this is my favorite tool, is the money test. Because we all are in business. None of us are 501c3s up in here. We're all in business because we want to be profitable, right? We're in a capitalist business. We're in for-profit business. Profit is not a dirty word. Profit is a strong word. We all want that and we need that. So how can we think about this? I'm going to go over with you this money test. And the reason I'm nestling it here after we've just gone over that survival sequence that I shared with you, survival, success, significance, and kind of how that plays out, is thinking about how you're investing or squandering your time is a way to think about, where am I in this money test? And I'll show you very, very great detail how this works. Once you go through this money test, I'm going to encourage you to really, this is recorded, come back and watch this again, because you're going to really want to challenge yourself about the truth of what you're writing on your paper, okay? And if you really need a tool, a resource to do it for you, you can certainly check out Homepro Toolbox, because we actually have a sheet that you can walk through. But this presentation has everything that you need to do this money test well, okay? So the way we start the money test is we start by asking, how much is 1 hour of your time worth? Now, I don't want you to write down, no, I do want you to get a piece of paper first and foremost. If you don't have one, get one. If you're driving and listening to this webinar, keep your hands on the wheel. But if you're at your desk, grab a piece of paper and write on the paper, how much in actual dollars is 1 hour of your time worth? Now, notice the language here. I didn't say, how much do you charge for an hour? That's a totally different number. I'm asking you to think about, if you, as I'm assuming many of you here are the owners, okay, or at least a manager, a leader of a department, okay, if you took 1 hour of your time and you devoted it to the thing that you are most qualified, most gifted to do, what's the value impact of that hour? Write it down on your paper. Go ahead and write it down. Now I want you to actually write it down. Here's why. Because at the end of this money test, once I go over this with you, you're going to want to scratch that number out and write a new number. I'm gonna give you the answer at the end, all right? So I'm actually not going to tell you how much your time should be worth, because that's a personal decision, but it really shifts how you can exit this survival mode, get into success mode, and move towards significance when you reconsider for yourself how much your time is worth. And it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I got to suddenly charge more. Maybe that will be one of your insights. But the point of this is to understand that as a leader, as an owner, leader, manager, your contribution to your business, your unique, individual, personal contribution, you as yourself, is so much greater than how you might be creating it today. And when you're just in the weeds, living the tyranny of the urgent, filling up your day with all the necessary but minor stuff, who is spending time on the stuff that moves the needle? Nobody. If you're not doing it, I promise you your team's not, because you are the one uniquely gifted and qualified to do it. Okay, so consider that different types of tasks in your company carry different value to the organization. I'm sure you're like, thanks, Madeleine, blinding flash of the obvious here. Yes, okay, buying toilet paper does not have the same thing as closing a $50,000 deal. Yes, of course, the toilet paper purchase is necessary. Nobody wants to be in a COVID crisis without toilet paper again. Nobody wants that. But so many of us spend our time doing all the small stuff, where the big things, closing deals is one of the things that we often like to do, owners, leaders, managers. So that doesn't get forgotten. But what about all the other stuff that is really valuable to the organization? So the way that I look at this is there are 4 different quadrants that we're going to inspect today. There's $10 an hour jobs. Okay. There are $100 an hour jobs, $1,000 an hour jobs, and $10,000 an hour jobs. Don't worry, you're not going to be quizzed on it, but we'll go over these so you'll see them again and again. When I talk about the dollar value of the job, don't get it wrong. I'm not saying that's how much you ought to be paying someone to do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that from your position in the company as owner, leader, manager, that's who I'm speaking to, okay? Your position in the company, specifically as an owner, it's a $10 an hour contribution to your business. The value of that work is only at $10 or at $100 or at $1,000 or, my friends, at $10,000. Did any of you write the value of your time is $10,000 an hour? It could be very easily, and you'll understand why once we do this money test. So the tasks I'm going to walk through with you are from the perspective of a small to mid-sized business right here in our industry. So in some sort of shading, interior, exterior, maybe you have an awning company, maybe you have a window treatment company, maybe you have an exterior solar shade company. Doesn't matter the type of product, okay? If you're small to mid, right, you can kind of venture in your own brain what that number looks like. These tasks will apply to your business. Now, if you have a very large business, if you're at 100 employees or more, this will probably shift a little bit. The truth about the money test is when you change the title of the person that we're doing the test for, you change what's inside of the quadrants. I walked through that kind of fast. If you have questions on it, you can either pop it into our chat or reach out to me. Okay, so $10 an hour activities. Here are they: answering phones, looking up information on products, tracking shipments, running errands, being in the shop or warehouse, cleaning up, buying samples. Okay, I joke around about the toilet paper example, but how many times have you run to Home Depot? How many times have you, we forgot a ladder, run that out to the client? How much time do you spend on UPS.com tracking a shipment? How much time do you spend looking up information on products? This is not bad or wrong, right? When the phone rings, you'd certainly want somebody answering it, but it might not be for you to do. Nobody wants to walk into a dirty office, but should you be being the one doing the cleaning? Now, when we're in the survival band and we don't have time or money, we either don't do the cleaning at all or we do it ourselves, right? But if you want to move forward into the success band, if you want to move forward into the significance band, You cannot be squandering your time on low value activities that, my friend, anyone could do, right? It is not hard to teach someone to answer the phone. Good afternoon, Emma MacRae coaching. That's not hard, right? Anyone could do that. Now, okay, maybe the word anyone is a little too broad, but a lot of people could. The reason this is a $10 an hour activity is that it doesn't require specified skill or high value talent to execute these tasks. It does not mean that the tasks are unimportant. The tasks are important, but spending your time moving boxes around in the warehouse is not the right use of your time as the leader of the business. Everyone tracking with that? Yeah? Okay. Any questions whatsoever, you just pop them right into our chat in our Microsoft Teams meeting, pop it into our chat. And if you have questions and you're watching this on the replay, feel free to reach out to me. My email is at the beginning and the end, but make sure that you ask these questions because how does this apply to me is important. Okay. Notice the color on the top of our title page here. Red. Red isn't a good color in this test, okay? Red means you are bleeding money, okay? This is a danger zone. Danger, Will Robinson, danger zone, okay? You don't want to be here. Let's look at the $100 an hour. Now, these $100 an hour activities, I'll admit, more tempting. Every time we move up in the quadrants, they're more tempting. It's easy to want to do these because they are directly leading to more high value activities. Booking appointments. How important is that? If you don't get out in front of your consumer, you're not going to be closing deals. So a lot of people spend their time booking appointments, but my friends, you can teach someone how to do that. Even if you are doing a lot of qualifications during your phone calls, even if there's a certain way you do it, you can teach it. We actually in Homepro Toolbox have an entire room devoted to learning how to book appointments well, right? There's an art to it. It's not just only you could do it. Okay, you can teach it. You can delegate that for sure. Managing projects, resolving issues, completing paperwork, ordering product, doing inventory. Notice these are more valuable activities, but it is not valuable for you. If you have a warehouse manager, absolutely his managing inventory is going to be in his high value quadrant. You're the owner. You might be functioning right now as the warehouse manager, but your primary hat is owner leader. Remember, completing paperwork, if you do sloppy paperwork and you hand in garbage, of course it's not going to be good. But does it need to be you? Resolving issues, this is one that I've gotten a little pushback on because if you don't resolve issues well, then you end up with bad reviews and angry clients, etc. But resolving issues can be something that if you empower your people, if you teach them how to do things, if you teach people how to set expectations well, you teach people how to communicate well, you shouldn't have to do high volume of resolution. Okay, so if you have to spend a ton of your time resolving issues, it is because you're not investing your time in one of the greater quadrants, and we'll go over that. Okay, so these $100 an hour activities are important to do, but should it be you? That's the question. It's why it's still red. Okay, notice the color changed. Woo, we're into the green ones. Green means go, green means money, green means good. Okay, now the reason I'm going to put some of these activities in this $1,000 an hour box is because at this point we are transitioning from things that are going to save you or make you money directly. And it depends on how large your organization is, right? If you have 8 to 10 people, you're probably going to be spending a fair amount of your time in this quadrant. If you have 25 or 30 people, you should be spending way less time inside of this quadrant. Okay? The size of your team, how much you've delegated, how much you've grown, matters in terms of the time split. Okay, so let's look at these. Sales consultations, right? We want to put those right here. It's okay for owners to sell up into a certain point, right? Because sales consultation, think about it. You could show up to a consumer's home. Let's say you're doing an entire home of window coverings, right? You show up to their home, you walked away with 15 or 20 grand. Was that a valuable 1 hour? That hour of your time, maybe it was 2 hours. So that's, that could be a very high value hour. Now, sometimes you walk in and you get maybe $2,200 or $1,500, and it took you 90 minutes. That's why it's still in the $1,000 category, because you don't just only get huge projects and only spend your time that way. So sales consultations. Vendor meetings. Here's the thing, my friends. When the going gets tough, you want to have good relationships with your vendors. When times are difficult, when leads are lean, when situations go in, you want to have not just one contact at that vendor, your sales rep. You want to know the people. You want to know who the people you could call who really know what to do inside of that organization are. Deepening those relationships with your vendors is important. It's a $1,000 an hour activity. Advertising. You have to know how you're using that budget. We're going to talk about the planning, but pay attention to advertising, investing money there. Investing time and effort into understanding how happy your consumers are. Whether you're doing that through review processes, or you're doing that through surveys, or you're doing that through phone calls or letters, it is worth your time and effort to ensure, keep your finger on the pulse of just how happy your consumers are. Onboarding new team members. All right. So the larger your business gets, the further into that success band, where you spend your time will shift. Okay. Onboarding new team members means not hiring. That's in the next quadrant. Onboarding means getting them acclimated into the team, teaching them, showing them, explaining, the living example and the actual practical explanation of vision, mission, values. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? How do you do what you do? Right? When I teach my private clients how to create their vision, mission, and values, I have one little secret sauce that I'll tell you right now. I teach them to create what I call the grand rules. Sounds fancy. What it means is, this is what I, as the owner, expect of you. Here's the things I believe to be important. Here's how we live out our values. So one of my grand rules is progress over perfection. Okay, you missed dotting an I. Am I happy about that? No, but you made progress. We got the whole thing done. You missed one I. Okay, gonna forgive you for that. So as long as you're making progress, if it's not perfect, but you're making consistent progress and it's excellent work, I'll be happy, right? So progress over perfection and excellence always. That's one of my grand rules. But our team members would never know that unless I took the time and trouble to show them, to teach them, to preach it, right? Because I believe so strongly in it. Yes, you can delegate some onboarding, the tasky pieces, the how they do their actual work, but the sharing of the culture, that transmission from your heart, your passion to them, that's something that's in the $1,000 an hour category for you to do. New tools, new software, spending your time figuring out, how do I optimize the work that my team is doing? How do we get the best possible tools from education standpoint? Maybe it's Homepro Toolbox, maybe it's some vendor, maybe it's showing up to Sun Shading Expo and learning. Software, what are the things that I need my team to have in order to execute their work well? If you're still working off Excel sheets for different things, maybe, just maybe, you could upgrade to a better software tool that would be more efficient, right? So anytime you're making money, saving money, or doing great delegation, you're going to see these in the higher quadrants. Okay. And the last thing is training on professional skills. Oops, should have saved Sun Shading Expo for training and professional skills. When you're getting better at your craft, whether it's at the art of doing business or the art of shading, that is a great investment into your present and your future. Okay, this is what helps you move through that success band and start pulling yourself into that second half of the success band that pulls you forward, right? You gotta be top of your game at what you're doing, both your business and your craft. All right, now the drum roll. Everyone's been waiting for this one. The second I say the $10,000 category, everyone wants to skip to it. I've taught this lots of times. I promise you it's the one everyone wants to know. $10,000 an hour categories. Did you know that 1 hour of your time could be worth $10,000? Most people don't write that, right? I had a client who went through this money test with me at a live show. Come to the Sun Shading Expo, see me live, it's fun. So at a live trade show, and the next time he saw me was at a smaller event, and he had already done this money test with me. And when he was in the group, he wrote down $25,000 an hour was his hourly, what his value of an hour was. Because he thought about, wow, I go into this conversation and I make a deal that ends up leading to hundreds of thousands of dollars in our business this year. Oh, wait, and then again next year. Oh, wait, and then again next year. So it's the compounding effect of how you invest your time. So hiring decisions. Now, this doesn't mean you have to look at every resume. You have to sit there, do the phone interview, the first interview, the second interview. It means you need to make sure, keep your finger on the pulse of who you're bringing in. You do need to be involved in the decision-making process about hiring. The smaller your business, the more of the hiring work you personally will have to do. The larger your business, the more of the approval process you want to be involved in. I'm going to just, word of caution, there's a reason hiring decisions are in the $10,000 range and onboarding is in the $1,000. Because one of the primary jobs of an owner of a business is to have the right people in the right seats. So the strategic planning about who do you need, not just from a functional standpoint, but from a culture standpoint, from a personality standpoint, from a way that they look at the world, how they tick, right? I'm a visionary. I'm a big picture thinker. If I don't have an integrator, which means someone who can take my vision and turn it into actionable items, my business does not succeed as well as it does with the integrator, right? So I have integrators at key roles in my business because I need someone to do all the fine-tuned detail work of taking my vision and materializing it. You need to know yourself, you need to know your business, and you need to put the right people in the right seats. If hiring is really super intimidating, check out Homepro Toolbox. We got a whole room devoted to it. Hiring, though, is a key $10,000 an hour activity. Sales training with your team. Okay, here's what. If your sales team does sales training, that's amazing and good and excellent, right? That's a $10,000 activity in their quadrant, right? But why did I say with your team? Why does you having FaceTime with your salespeople on when they do, especially large scale trainings, if you bring in a sales trainer, I've certainly done that for lots of companies, or if you are having regular meetings where there's some sales training, giving FaceTime there and actually sharing with them is important because there's something that you have about the way you run the business, why you do things, and showing up matters. It's really important. Your sales team drives your revenue. So you want to be present, not at every moment with them, but at key moments. And when they're learning and growing their professional skills, it's a great moment for you to be there. Process improvement, getting better at the way you do things. Ensuring, like we were talking about tools and software, if you don't know what you're doing and how you're doing it, how are you going to be able to determine what you need? Right? Getting better at what you're doing. But gaining efficiency is another way, time and money. Saves you both. Media and marketing strategy. Understanding where are our leads going to flow from? How do we get out in front of them? Who is your ideal client? In our local market, what can we do to get more of our ideal clients within our purview and us within theirs? Expanding your sphere of influence partners, okay? A sphere of influence partner can be a professional person, like an attorney or a CPA, but they can also be that other person down the street who owns the hardware store. Or it could be that person in a B&I group who, is a realtor. Your sphere of influence partners are people who are just one step removed from you anywhere in your local environment. But when you expand that sphere of partners, and when you do more with that sphere of partners, what you're doing is you're exponentially increasing the number of people who have the power to know who you are, like you, want to do business with you themselves, and get their people, whoever those people are, into your sphere. So that's really key. Coaching, mentoring, leadership development. When you yourself are becoming the best version of yourself, you raise the bar on what's available for your team. And when you take someone under your wing to help them become the best version of themselves, you are duplicating yourself. You're creating more of you. And that's a huge activity, because how many times have you felt like, oh, if I could only duplicate myself? Well, in some ways you can. Once you know yourself well and you can spot the talent that has the capability to rise up. And the last thing in the $10,000 an hour activities, I don't want you to forget this, is self-care, time off, vacation, family, friends. I cannot tell you, much to my own sadness, how many business owners have come to me after decades of work, being divorced, having terrible relationships with their kids. I have business owners who are ready to retire, who have built an amazing business, whose kids literally want nothing to do with them because they burned their bridges with them. They missed every band show. They missed every game. They didn't show up for key moments. My friends, show up for your family. Show up, because if you don't, I promise you, you won't regret that contract that you missed. You will regret it when they don't invite you to their kids' birthday parties. You will regret it when you have grandkids that you're not growing up seeing. And the reason I mention this is it's in the $10,000 an hour activity. Sometimes we build a business with the hope of our kids taking it over, right? How many of you hope to pass your business to your kids? How can you expect them to love what you do and to want to emulate you if they don't see you being happy? If they don't get to experience any of the amazingness that you pour into your company, you have to pour into them too. Now, even if they don't end up taking over the business, you at some point, I hope, want to retire, right? And what are you going to retire towards? I have had, we have this big silver wave coming, right? With a lot of people retiring. Our industry is aging out and a lot of people are thinking about retirement. I've had many conversations with people saying, I have no idea what retirement would look like. I don't even know if I want to. That doesn't even seem fun to me. What could you do now to invest in yourself, to invest in your hobbies, to take time for yourself so that you want a joyful life after work? Work is not everything. And this is coming from a profoundly ambitious human. I'm a profoundly ambitious woman. I'm building 2 businesses. I'm raising a child by myself. Like, I got this, it's fine. But you have got to take care of yourself. If you have a massive heart attack because you've been running under so much stress, what happens to your business? It gets hurt, okay? Set a good example, take vacations, take the time off, take care of yourself, right? You yourself are a primary asset to your business. Take care of it, right? You wouldn't buy a brand new piece of equipment and then let it run on empty oil and get dinged up and be treated terribly because it's an asset to the business and you need it. You yourself are so much more important. That piece of equipment can be replaced, okay? It's in the $10,000 an hour category. I get really preachy about it. I know. I get up on my soapbox because it's really important. Really important. Okay, so these are the 4 quadrants. Quick overview of them, right? These different activities, as an owner, you should be spending 80% of your time in the green categories. 80. I will tell you, most people don't. And that's why most people stay stuck, hovering between survival and success. If you want to move yourself through the success band all the way up to that significance band, you cannot ignore these bigger quadrants, and especially you can't ignore your $10,000 an hour activities. That is where you will have the most capability to truly achieve significance in your business. And when you set yourself up with the time, the money, and the team you need, you will be able to progress from survival to success to significance. And when you're thinking about where am I, ask yourself, where are you spending your time? In what quadrant? People who are stuck in survival mode spend the majority of their time, 80 to 90% of their time, if not 100%, in almost exclusively in the first 2 quadrants, with just only the sales consultation side of the other quadrants. That's it. When you want to move into success, you have to consider, where are you investing your time, and really challenge yourself. It's not easy. So look at your sheet of paper, promise you we'd look at it again, and see, what did you write for the value of that 1 hour of your time? What did you write? If you believe it's possible for your time to have more value than what you wrote on your paper, then it's probably possible, it's highly likely that you need to inspect where you're investing your time on a daily basis and make the decision. Time doesn't just show up. You are in control of your time. You cannot let the tyranny of the urgent run your business and run your life. You have to choose where you invest your time and choose it wisely. And with that, you will be well on your way to exiting the survival sequence and landing into the success sequence. So thank you so much for having me today. Manuela, thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I'm really happy to have been here. As I mentioned a couple of times, if you'd like to reach out to me, you have questions on this, certainly feel free to shoot me an email. Madeleine@homeprotoolbox.com is an easy way to reach me. And I think after the webinar, we'll be sharing with you one of our really awesome tools, a complimentary download that you can also have access to. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today, for investing your time in yourself and in your business. Look forward to seeing you at Sunshading Expo.